educates, syncopates, radio communicates, radio, the sound of year-round pleasure.
And alrighty, welcome back to Come Along Radio, the only show on the internet that covers the rich history and the sweet sounds of Japanese city pop. I'm your host, Rocket Brown, and I'm ready to get down. And I'm joined once again by my good friend, Jay Canuck.
From Kyoku Plus from Toronto, Canada.
That's right.
I'll be back on the show again as usual.
Absolutely. And we've got another special album review for today. We're going to be reviewing a rather underrated city pop artists. If you guys are familiar with the album we reviewed last week, For You by Tatsuro Yamashita, there was a very special musician featured on the piano on one of the songs. His name was Hiroshi Sato. He's one of the many unsung heroes in J-pop. Tatsuro Yamashita himself has called him Japan's best pianist, or at least that's what it says on the J-Wiki.
Indeed.
Yeah, even the Prince of City Pop, Toshiki Karamatsu, referenced him as one of his many inspirations.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, in fact, there is that Disc Guide, the Japanese language Disc Guide series called Japanese City Pop, in which there is an interview with Toshiki Karamatsu, and Karamatsu plainly says, one of his, if you're going to buy a city pop album, get Awakening by Hiroshi Sato.
That's right, Awakening from the year 1982. And we're going to look at that album today. Alright, that was the first two tracks, Awakening and You're My Baby.
Really liked Awakening, the instrumental introduction to the entire album. Just it's almost like if we're keeping on that analogy of Hiroshi Sato's Lakeside Cottage, or so. I think this is kind of like the helicopter's view of it going through. And then when we go into You're My Baby, basically the image I have is hot tub.
Basically, yeah. And the great part is that the piano solo, also, Hiroshi Sato, awesome pianist, really sets the tone for the whole album. And I let the song play through into the next, simply just because it fits so well, and it fits right into the next song perfectly.
Yeah, it melds very, very easily. It's just seamless, basically, how it just goes right into, from Awakening into You're My Baby.
Right. One of the cool things about You're My Baby is, so if you notice with Hiroshi Sato's voice, it kind of sounds like there's two of them singing at once. Like his voice, and it makes his voice pop out more. That's overdubbing.
Ah, okay, I see.
Yeah, so he does that trick in a lot of his later, well, for the most part, in all of his later, more electro pop albums. But this is sort of the first one to introduce that trick.
Yeah, he really enjoys overdubbing, just from what I've been reading from the liner notes.
Yeah, but I think the overdubbing, it's not too much to where it's overbearing. I think he pulls it off pretty well, especially with his very calm singing and stuff like that. And also we're introduced to the second star of this album, Wendy Matthews, a singer from Australia that he met in California.
I think just the leading up to his first meeting with Wendy Matthews, apparently when Sato was in the United States, he'd been working with Spencer Davis, and he got to know another vocalist by the name of Randy Crawford, and so
that's right.
Yeah, and they actually went to Japan together because he had to replace another keyboardist by the name of Joe Sample, a bit of a Rush replacement, and they went to the Tokyo Music Festival, and he was playing support for Crawford. And I think at that point, that was maybe when he found out that maybe when when the idea for Awakening came about, that he needed the female vocalist to kind of help out on the album, and so that kind of ended up with him meeting Wendy Matthews.
That's pretty awesome. And you know what? It was a match made in heaven, because she fits the song perfectly.
As I play, any trace of sorrow fade.
Excellent. And already we've hit my favorite track on the record.
There you go.
Blue and moody music. So this track.
So why did you like this one so much?
I know last week we were talking about songs having sort of a classic standard feel to them. I feel like this is one, while still retaining sort of its contemporary feel to it. Like it gave me a lot of if you're familiar with Frank Sinatra's "In the Wee Small Hours," kind of vibe in terms of like the tone. It's one of those really great melancholy, just up in the middle of the night tracks.
Yeah. And I think there is that certain kind of, I don't know if it's the right word here, kind of almost like a certain wooziness to Sato's vocals, as if he were not singing this during broad daylight. This was something that he was singing like around midnight, actually. Maybe he'd had a couple of drinks, let's say, and so it kind of that tone of voice came out, so that it sounds like, after a very long day, he's now finally chilling at around, past midnight, and just watching the night sky, for example. And,
right.
And I think that blue and moody music kind of fit, that vocal kind of fit that music. It fit the entire song that way, I think.
Yeah.
And I think we're all kind of lucky, because initially, Sato's version of Blue and Moody Music was not even going to be made. Basically.
Really?
It was actually just meant for Wendy to sing it, and Wendy sang the up-tempo version that comes off at which finishes the entire album. But Sato, after he made the song for her, he kind of had some second thoughts, because the lyricist Lorraine Feather had actually written the lyrics to match his delivery, to match his voice. And so he decided that, it's a ballad, and I think we already kind of said that Sato was a bit of a balladeer. Right. And so Sato himself thought it a bit odd that, he wouldn't be able to perform this song by himself. So he decided, he'll just make his own version and then pair it up with Wendy's version at the very end of the album. So that's how, these two different versions of the same song got put on to Awakening.
That's incredible.
Now again I'm reaching out for you. Seems we can't lose our love affair.
Alrighty. And that was Just a Love Affair by Wendy Matthews. What did you think?
It's another great duet between Sato and Matthews. I think in terms of the piano, I think this is one of Sato's favorite tracks.
Really?
There was some focus on that instrument or so. Yeah, I think he mentioned that Only a Love Affair, the upcoming Love and Peace that we're going to listen to in a few minutes, and Blue and Moody Music were his favorites in terms of him playing the piano on that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think this song has some of the best instrumentation on the album. So I'd have to agree with him. And Wendy sounds really awesome on the mic. This isn't my favorite song that she sings, but this is one of her. This is one of her best. I think the interpretation, the instrumental backing her up, really helps.
Yeah, I think with me, it's like with Only a Love Affair. When I heard the intro, I just kind of thought, I guess the AOR-ness of the song really came out to me.
Yeah,
I think there was something almost. I'm not sure if I'm correct in this, but I mean, there's something that even sounded a little bit like Steve Winwood's some of his music that he was doing in the 10th decade. That kind of came out, especially the way Sato was playing keyboards there.
This is a really awesome track. Wendy Matthews, really good job on her first solo song of the album. Alrighty, so that was War. No, excuse me, that was Love and Peace.
Love and Peace.
Don't worry, I'm not.
We're getting into some high literature there with that one.
I know, right? I'm not trying to. This isn't a book club. Yeah, this is Love and Peace. I did not realize that this was a cover of Quincy Jones when I first heard this.
I did not know either. Yeah.
I went back and I found the album. The original version has more of a New York high-rise feel to it, which I like.
Okay.
The parts where they're noodling on the guitar in the original song was translated into piano on Hiroshi Sato's version, which I really like.
That's right. You can really hear the blues come out.
Oh, absolutely.
In Sato's version as well.
This is the bluesiest song on the album, and on top of that, I feel like I don't know what it is about, but basically, whenever I listen to this song, my mind goes immediately to like the bar, right? You know, you're sitting at the bar. It's past happy hour, right? So it's not a lot of people. You're just sort of babysitting the one drink the entire night.
Yeah, you're nursing it basically.
Yeah, and that's basically where I'm at mentally listening to the song.
And I read that Sato had long wanted to do this song.
Really?
For the longest time. And he said that basically Awakening was the perfect time to do it.
He called it
the piano and the other. Yeah. I mean, just also for some information on that Quincy Jones album, it was a 1969 album called Walking in Space.
Yeah.
And I think it was Arthur Adams who is an American blues guitarist who came up with the song with I think Love and Peace, I think it was.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that was.
It is an amazing song. Yeah.
Yeah, I like both. I think Hiroshi Sato did a really good job. It's another one of my favorite tracks on the album. It's one of my favorite instrumental pieces.
Just call on me, and I'll send it along with love from me to you.
So I'm gonna be honest, I was not expecting a Beatles cover on this album. And
I think I was a little bit surprised by it when I first heard From Me to You as well.
I'll be honest, I didn't realize it was a Beatles song when I first heard it. I just thought, oh, this slaps. This is yeah. And when I looked up the title, I was like, oh, this is a Beatles song, and it's so different because it's just like. There's not a lot of artists out there going around turning mercy beat songs into disco tracks. You know what I'm saying? So,
AOR type things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the two things that I got out From Me to You is number one, he really enjoyed using the Lin on this one especially.
Oh yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And number two, I think Howard Jones just called. He wanted his voice back. It's like. I mean, that was the first impression I got when I was like, I almost had to like tore off my earphones because I was like, this guy sounds like Howard Jones here. I mean, he just had to he sang it a little bit higher, and that's what kind of made the Howard Jones, I guess,
I see
that observation. And it was ironic because it's like Howard Jones didn't make his debut until about a year later, after in '83. A year after the album was done. With new song. I
was about to say, in his defense, Hiroshi Sato came first.
Yes, he shot first.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean that just goes to show how good his English is, man. If I didn't tell you the name, you would just be like, oh yeah, this is just Howard Jones.
Yeah. No, I had the same thing. I had the same observation as well. And I think it all kind of plays into what Sato had been hoping for and realized when he was in the United States, was that when he was doing his first three albums and he was kind of trying so hard for being original,
right?
But then when he went to America, he kind of realized that it was a bit of a fool's errand according to him, and
really?
That he should kind of go back to his roots. And one of those roots was the Beatles. I mean, he was a huge fan of the Beatles and R&B and blues.
Right.
So he decided to go back to those roots and, he decided to do a cover of this Beatles song, From Me to You.
Hiroshi Sato really likes the Beatles, and you know what? He did a good. This is a good tribute to the Beatles. Absolutely.
I can't wait till I lose this weary day in your embrace.
Alrighty, and that was Can't Wait. Personally, my favorite duet on the album.
Yeah, very again another very smooth outing with Sato and Matthews.
Yeah, and I think this song does the best job in showcasing how well their voices work together.
Yeah, well, which kind of makes me wonder. It's like he said, it was said that he was looking for quite a while for the right, I guess, vocalist to work with. So I'm assuming that he was doing, I guess, auditions with various singers, and I guess with Matthews it was just when they were doing, I guess, maybe the singing together just to test things out or so. I think Sato must have something clicked in his head. No, Wendy Matthews is the one.
Oh yeah,
like,
absolutely.
She has to be the.
I wish she was on more albums with Hiroshi Sato, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if she did actually, if she did make any other duets with Sato. No, not at all. Eh?
Not on any other albums. Just Awakening. I've listened through most of Sato's 80s stuff, and it's a different female artist each time. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I've heard Sato perform this exact same song with another artist for a live performance. It was
right.
It was like videotaped. It was good. It wasn't the same.
Mm-hmm. No, it wasn't quite the original.
Yeah.
The original is always the best one.
That just goes to show how iconic this team up was. So. Oh man, it ain't easy being this catchy. That's actually my favorite solo song for Wendy. I think her vocal harmonies are a lot better here, but also the instrumentation. It's a cool mix of like AOR mixed with the sort of like Oriental style of melody that honestly it makes it feel like something that YMO would do.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of thinking myself, since you brought up the Asian sound of it. So I was thinking of the Japanese American band Hiroshima from around the same time in the decade as well. I just, there was that one hit that Hiroshima got, I think was called One Wish.
Oh wow!
Which kind of hit all the radios back then. And yeah, I was kind of thinking of that song when I was hearing Wendy Matthews tackle the Nice and Easy. Yeah. I think the one thing that the only issue I had with the song was that, I guess, the first 20 seconds or so, you had the introductory, I guess. Sato's introductory vocal, which I thought maybe this was belonging to another song or something.
Yeah, it's very misleading.
I don't know if he was trying to kind of trolling us at the time or something, but yeah, I just thought it was a bit. I just thought it was a kind of an odd decision to have that sort of introduction, and then it isn't easy coming in.
That's fair. I like the introduction, but it does feel out of place.
Yeah.
It's very, I don't want to say off-putting, but it kind of throws you for a loop. Because you're expecting a completely different song.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that maybe it was when those first 20 seconds came in, I was kind of looking forward to maybe this is going to be another up-tempo track or so, but actually it was much more laid back, kind of a ballad style song by Wendy.
I think for me it was more because Sato's voice isn't present that much throughout the rest of the song. It's mainly in the intro, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's after the introductory vocal, it was like, oh, okay, Wendy takes over for the remainder of the song.
Yeah.
Which I'm obviously not complaining about. But I just thought it was kind of an odd kind of an odd segue from that introductory several seconds to the main song.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, I think after this, it's all upbeat from here. Alrighty, and that was the second track titled Awakening on the album. And this is the track that made me wonder, like, what if Hiroshi Sato did join YMO? Because he got the offer.
Which was the case. Mm-hmm.
He got the offer from Harry Hosono, and he turned it down to go to LA. And
this is kind of like the What If song.
Yeah, the What If song. Yeah, and it's because it's pretty good, but it obviously it's setting up, for the next track. But I think all the synth pop noises are arranged really cool. Still retains that sort of disco vibe, but it definitely feels more like it's a pretty good interlude.
Yeah, this was basically a whole jam session with himself.
Yeah,
he was handling all of these.
Basically, yeah.
Like it's a self jam. But he was handling, like, of course, the Lynn Machine, the Fender Rose, a Jupiter 8, Synclavier, Fender Telecaster, and a Prophet 5, among other instruments.
Right.
Yeah, this was all by him.
Yeah, he did a really good job, though, I have to say. But this is just a sampler, right, for the next track, which is arguably the most iconic track on the album.
I say goodbye, I'm gone.
Alright, and that was Say Goodbye. That's obviously one of the best Hiroshi Sato songs ever. It's his most iconic. Probably one of the more uplifting breakup songs I've ever heard.
Yeah, and I guess appropriately, the final song on the original LP. The other thing is that Tatsuro Yamashita takes part in the Fender Telecaster on this one.
That's right. Yeah, it's pretty epic. It's crazy because it's funny you say that because all the versions of Awakening I found, they all have Wendy Matthews' Blue and Moody Music as the last song. Like, I could never find one where it was just Say Goodbye. So it led me to assume that Wendy Matthews was always the last song?
Yeah, I mean, I think what happened was that there was the remastered version which came out originally in September 2005, and that's also the version I have as well.
Oh, okay.
It has Wendy's Blue and Moody Music to round out the entire album.
Okay. Yeah, because I was about to say, it's like, I feel like Say Goodbye is one of the most perfect ending songs you can make for an album. It's catchy, it's mellow, but it's still like upbeat enough to like you dance to it, and it's just great. It's one of those perfect pop songs. Alright, so that was Blue and Moody Music by Wendy Matthews. What do you think, Jay? What's your favorite version?
That's the question everyone asks when they listen to this remastered album. Like, well, what's your favorite?
Because they're both really good.
They're both really good, and I've been reading some of the YouTube comments while I was listening to Wendy's version of it, and it's like. There are quite a few people who prefer the Wendy version, and I have to say that, I think both are fantastic, but I think for me, I actually like the Wendy version better. Although I definitely appreciate the Sato original even more now, since we were talking about the setting for the original song.
Looks like we can't be friends anymore.
I guess I'm going to have to leave now or so.
No, I'll be honest. I do prefer the Sato version. I'm a sucker for a good ballad, although I do like the energy from the what's it called? The Wendy Matthews version. I think it's great. I think her voice really soars towards the end of the song, which I really like. I think it's super cool.
And there's a very interesting intro to it too. It's like it almost sounds like a synthesized like bird tweet almost.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you have this kind of bounces around right from the beginning.
Right. I think for me what does it is because the instrumentation sounds too similar to Say Goodbye. I feel like the Hiroshi Sato version gets more points for originality in the composition.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and strangely enough, Tatsuro Yamashita is involved in here on the Telecaster again.
Right.
After Say Goodbye. Yeah. And another prominent, I guess, city pop singer-songwriter who's also on, I think he says, Fender Telecaster Special, which is, and that's Yuji Toriyama is also involved.
Right, that's right. He's the other guitarist. Too. So yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely very happy, very much more happy, I guess, up-tempo version of Blue and Moody music.
Right. But I mean, other than that though, I think the next question is, how do you feel compared to all the other Hiroshi Sato albums, especially the ones prior to this? Where does this album place for you?
I mean, to be honest, I think the only albums that I have by Sato right now are Awakening and Blaster. His next one.
Oh, Sailing Blaster.
After that, Sailing Blaster. Yeah.
Okay.
His first three albums I have yet to hear in their entirety. I have heard some songs from back then, but so I can't really make a comparison at this point. I can only say that Awakening is a great album. It's a great city pop album. It's a great AOR album. And I think for Sato himself, I think this is the album for him, the album that he had always wanted to make. And everything kind of came together for him here with Awakening.
Right. That's fair. And I'll say this: I as someone who has listened to, I've went back and listened to his '70s stuff. So Supermarket, Time, and Orient.
Yeah.
And
Orient.
I've listened to Sailing Blaster, Sound of Science, and Aqua. There we go. And there's a few others that I haven't let, but I've heard a good chunk of his '80s stuff. I do think this is the best one.
I think it's the one album that he really had. It was really personal for him.
Yeah, and not just that. You feel like there's a consistent tone throughout the album, even when it gets more upbeat. It still retains that mellowness. And I also think a lot of the instrumental flourishes mesh really well with the more acoustic instruments mesh really well with all the synth pop stuff. One of the things I forgot to mention was how great there's a little guitar solo that jumps in alongside the piano solo, and it isn't easy. And I really like that part. That's my favorite part of the song. Stuff like that really set Awakening apart from just being another electro pop album into being like its own unique identity.
Well, we made the comparison with What If.
Right.
What if Sato had joined YMO, Yellow Magic Orchestra?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we got a little bit of a taste of that through one of the tracks. Or
oh yeah, well, through a couple.
Yeah, I think it comes all down to why he called this particular album Awakening, and for Sato was because this to him was his first true album. He thought maybe in terms of like what his roots were and what he wanted to show in this album, this was the first album for him. I guess it
was like a rebirth for him.
This was a rebirth. It was a rebirth. It was a rebirth for Sato.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess also kind of talking about the fact that this was all done in English or so. I think he was saying in the interview that he had never really so I'm just kind of curious about the previous three albums he did all in Japanese, of course. But in the interview, he said that he's been singing, English language songs. So I'm assuming the Beatles songs, for example. He's never memorized the Japanese songs. So I think for him, he feels that singing in Japanese is kind of like, it's kind of like his reality, and he doesn't want to deal with reality. Although I don't want this to go into a kind of a psychological case study here, but it's like, okay.
Well,
so,
it's
kind of,
it's the same feeling that people get when they sing, Japanese songs at karaoke, right? It's like,
right.
it sort of takes them out of it kind of takes them into their own little world. It's like for all you Yakuza fans out there, the video game, I should specify, part of one of the karaoke mini game, you're teleported from the karaoke bar and into the I call it the karaoke dimension, right? And it becomes its own little music video and stuff like that, and the character dresses up while he's singing the song. It's like, it creates that feeling like your mind is picturing yourself within the world of the song, within the world of the music.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it also reminds me of one of my favorite stories about Hiroshi Sato, about how he used to, when he was a kid, his parents ran a shrine in I think it was more down south of Japan. I forgot where it was, but basically, like, he would play like Elvis. He was always entranced in like Elvis and the Beatles and stuff like that, and I think BB King, and he would play he would like play Elvis music on his guitar, going down the shrine, and I'm just picturing, I don't know what they do at temples, right? But I'm just picturing someone's trying to concentrate on their mantras, and all of a sudden they're, "You ain't nothing but a hound dog," crying all the
I
time.
can just imagine
on the canvas.
the head priest is probably chasing Sato with his whatever that thing he used to slap shoulders or something.
Yeah.
Zen meditation or so. Like, get over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, getting back to that, the whole thing about real and unreal or so. I think for him, singing in English had that unreality sort of feeling for him, in which it was for him, he could be himself, and it was very easy for him to sing in English that way.
Yeah,
and I think that was the kind of thing he wanted to go for. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that speaks to the universalness of music, right? It's like there's no language barrier in music, and I think that's true. Hiroshi Sato's Awakening exemplifies that very well, because it's an album. I think it's the perfect album that you could recommend if you wanted to get like your American friends into Japanese music. Just give them Hiroshi Sato's Awakening, because the entire album is in English. It's the perfect starter album for your city pop enthusiasts. And I think the fact that it's revered by like other, like his contemporaries, I think that speaks volumes. Yeah,
it absolutely does. Yeah, it's probably, so it's like it's one of the best albums for city pop that you can get.
I agree. Unfortunately, Sato passed away in 2012. He was 65.
Yeah, well, only 65.
Yeah, but he left behind a big discography of music. Best one obviously being Awakening. I think the best way to celebrate his life is go get the album. It's great. You can get the remastered version vinyl on Light in the Attic Records. Really good website. They're a great library of obscure music. They have a great series of city pop albums. You can get it on Spotify. I got my copy on Google Play, so you can get it in a lot of places. Tell us what you guys think about the album in the comments below, and let us know what album you want us to review in the next video. But until next time, I'm Rocket Brown.
And this is Jay Canuck.
And we'll see you around.
Educates, syncopates.